Please, Brother Simon, help me. I need that money. I promised to pay back even before you asked for it.
Rachel pleaded with all form of seriousness. How much are we talking about? Simon inquired. 8 million naira, sir. I promise to pay back. Rachel reassured. What do you need such a huge amount for? Simon asked, his face covered with a bit of shock and concern. I want to do BBL. It has been my aspiration and vision to be a model with a shape that makes heads turn. Please don't advise me on the risk involved. I am aware of it, but that is what I want. Rachel confesses her desperation. What must have made Rachel have such a risky desperation? Let's find out how it all began. The salon was called Glam Beauty Salon, a name far grander than the cramped shop tucked between a provision store and a betting shop on Adeniran Street. Rachel had named it herself 3 years ago, full of hope and big dreams. Now, at 26, she stood behind the counter most evenings, not styling hair, but scrolling through lives that looked nothing like hers. On her cracked iPhone screen, Lagos influencers posed in infinity pools, their bodies curved like instruments designed by God himself. Hips that defied gravity. Waists that looked photoshopped but weren't. Faces beat to perfection under ring lights that cost more than her monthly rent. Rachel would screenshot these images obsessively, saving them in a folder she'd labeled Vision Board. But it wasn't really a vision board. It was an altar. And she worshipped there every single night. You're doing it again, said Miriam, her closest friend and sometimes the only client who showed up on slow days. Miriam was perched on the salon's one good chair, eating chin-chin from a paper bag. Doing what? Rachel didn't look up. Comparing yourself to people who don't even know you exist. Rachel finally raised her eyes. That's the point, Miriam. They don't know me yet. But they will. Miriam sighed. She'd heard this before. Rachel, you're beautiful already. You don't need. Beautiful is not enough. Rachel's voice cracked with frustration. Do you see these women? They're not just beautiful. They're flawless. And that's what opens doors in this Lagos. That's what gets you noticed. That's what gets you paid. Miriam studied her friend's face, the desperation flickering behind her eyes like a candle in the wind. And what exactly are you willing to do to get noticed? Rachel's jaw tightened. Whatever it takes. That answer should have scared Miriam more than it did. The obsession had started innocently enough. 6 months earlier, Rachel had attended a birthday party in Lekki, one of those parties where the hosts hired photographers and everyone came dressed to be seen. Rachel had worn her best dress, done her makeup carefully, and even borrowed heels from her younger sister, Esther. But when the pictures came out, she barely appeared in any of them. The camera had followed the curvy girls, the ones with bodies that commanded attention. Rachel, with her slender frame and straight silhouette, was almost invisible. That night, lying in bed, she made a decision. If I want to be seen, I need to look like them. The answer, she discovered, was a Brazilian butt lift, a BBL. The surgery that had become Lagos' worst-kept secret. Everyone knew someone who'd traveled and come back with a new body. The girls never admitted it directly, but the evidence was written on their hips. Rachel researched obsessively. She joined private Facebook groups where women shared before and after photos. She watched YouTube videos of girls documenting their recovery. She even contacted a few people directly, asking about costs, clinics, and results. The number that kept coming up was 8 million Nigerian nairas. 8 million naira. Rachel's entire savings was 340,000 Nigerian nairas, barely enough to cover 2 months of rent and salon expenses. She did the math a dozen different ways, but it never added up. There was no legal, safe way for her to raise that kind of money in time. But there were other ways. Dangerous ways. One evening, as she closed the salon, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "I hear you're looking for funding. Let's talk." Brother Simon. Rachel's heart stopped. Brother Simon. Everyone in Lagos knew that name. Or rather, everyone knew of him. He was the kind of man whose wealth had no clear source, whose smile was warm but whose reputation was ice cold. People whispered that he lent money to desperate women and collected in ways that had nothing to do with cash. She should have deleted the message. Should have blocked the number. Should have walked away. But instead, Rachel typed back, "When and where?" The meeting was set for Sunday evening at a lounge in Victoria Island. Rachel told her mother, Deborah, that she was meeting a potential investor for the salon. It wasn't entirely a lie. Her mother, a petty trader who sold tomatoes in Oshodi Market, looked at her daughter with tired but hopeful eyes. "Just be careful, my daughter. Not every hand that offers help is clean." Rachel kissed her forehead. "I'll be fine, Mama." The lounge was all dim lighting and expensive leather. Rachel felt underdressed the moment she walked in, despite wearing her best outfit. A waiter led her to a private booth in the back, where Brother Simon sat alone, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He was older than she expected, mid-40s, with silver threading through his hair and a gold watch that caught the light when he gestured for her to sit. "Rachel," he said, smiling, "you're even more beautiful in person." She forced herself to sit straight. "Thank you for meeting me." "Of course." He leaned back, studying her. "So, you need money?" "Yes." "How much?" 8 million naira. He didn't flinch. "And what do you need it for?" Rachel hesitated. She'd rehearsed this part, but now, under his gaze, the words felt fragile. "Medical procedure. Abroad." "A BBL," he said flatly. Her face burned. "How did you?" Rachel. He chuckled. "I've been in this business a long time. Every young woman who comes to me these days wants the same thing. A new body. A new life." He swirled his drink. "The question is, what are you willing to give me in return?" "I'll pay you back," Rachel said quickly. "With interest. I just need 6 months. "Money," Simon interrupted, "is not what I collect." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. "What do you mean?" Rachel whispered. Simon set down his glass and leaned forward. "I'll give you the 8 million. No interest. No repayment deadline. But in exchange, you'll do something for me when I ask. A favor. Nothing illegal. Nothing that will harm you. Just a favor." "What kind of favor?" He smiled. "That depends on what I need at the time. But don't worry, Rachel. I'm a reasonable man." Every instinct in her body screamed run. But the vision of her new life, the curves, the attention, the doors opening, was louder. "Do we have a deal?" Simon extended his hand. Rachel stared at it. And then, against every warning her mother had ever given her, she shook it. "We have a deal." Simon's smile widened. "Good. I'll have the money transferred to you by tomorrow." "And Rachel?" He stood, buttoning his jacket. "Don't make me regret this." The clinic in Accra was called Radiance Med Spa, and it looked exactly like the pictures online. Modern, clean, and expensive. Rachel arrived on a Wednesday morning, her stomach knotted with equal parts fear and excitement. The surgeon, Dr. Mensah, was a soft-spoken man with steady hands and a calm demeanor that made Rachel feel, for the first time in weeks, like she'd made the right choice. "You understand the risks?" he asked during the consultation. "Yes. The recovery will be painful. You'll need to sleep on your stomach for weeks. No sitting directly on your buttocks for at least 2 months." "I understand." "And you're certain you want to proceed?" Rachel looked at herself in the mirror, the body she was about to leave behind forever. I've never been more certain. The surgery took 4 hours. When Rachel woke up, the pain was unlike anything she'd ever experienced. It felt as though her entire lower body had been set on fire and then stitched back together with barbed wire. She couldn't move without gasping, couldn't breathe without wincing. But when the swelling started to go down and she saw her new reflection, the hips, the curve, the shape, all the pain became worth it. "You look amazing," the nurse said. Rachel couldn't stop staring. This is it, she thought. This is the beginning of everything. She returned to Lagos 3 weeks later. Her younger sister, Esther, picked her up from the airport. The moment Esther saw her, she froze. "Rachel, what did you do?" Rachel grinned. "I upgraded." Esther didn't smile back. "Mama is going to lose her mind. Mama doesn't need to know." But of course, their mother found out within days. Deborah wept when she saw her daughter's new body, not out of joy, but out of fear. "Rachel, where did you get the money for this?" "A loan, Mama. A business loan." "From who?" Rachel looked away. "Someone who believed in me." Deborah grabbed her daughter's hand. "My child, nothing good comes from borrowed money you cannot repay. Please, tell me you didn't sell yourself." "I didn't." Rachel pulled away. "Why does everyone think the worst of me? I'm trying to build something." But even as she said it, she could feel the weight of Simon's favor hanging over her like a sword. Rachel's first post-surgery photo went viral within hours. She'd spent the morning setting up the perfect shot, golden hour lighting, a bodycon dress that showed off every curve, and a caption that was just vague enough to spark curiosity. "New chapter. New me. Watch the space." The comments exploded. "Body goals. Sis, drop the workout routine. You did that. Fire, fire, fire. BBL or gym? Be honest, sis eyes." Rachel didn't respond to the BBL questions. She just smiled and posted another photo. Within 2 weeks, her follower count jumped from 3,000 to 45,000. Brand DMs started flooding in. A waist trainer company offered her 150,000 Nigerian nairas for a single post. A skincare line sent her free products. A nightclub in Lekki invited her to host a party, just to show up and take pictures. For the first time in her life, money was coming to her. She upgraded her phone, bought new outfits, repainted the salon, sent her mother 50,000 Nigerian nairas just because. Her younger brother, Timothy, joked that she was becoming a celebrity. "Sister Rachel, when you blow, don't forget us, oh," he teased. She laughed and promised she wouldn't. But underneath the glow, cracks were already forming. Rachel started spending more to keep up appearances. New wigs, designer bags, some real, some fake, but all expensive. Professional photo shoots. A ring light. A camera. Editing software. The money she made barely covered the money she spent. And then one evening her phone rang. A known number. She answered. "Rachel." Simon's voice was smooth as silk. "How's the new body treating you?" Her blood ran cold. "It's fine. I'm glad. Because it's time." "Time for what?" "The favor," Simon said simply. "I need you to do something for me." Rachel's hands started to shake. "What do you need?" "There's a man I want you to meet. His name is Honorable Joshua. He's a politician, very connected, very powerful. He's hosting a private dinner this Saturday in Abuja. I need you to attend as his guest." "That's it? Just dinner?" Simon chuckled. "Just dinner. Be charming. Be beautiful. Make him feel important. That's all. And after that we're done?" "After that," Simon said, "we'll see." The line went dead. Rachel sat in the dark salon, staring at her phone. Just dinner, she told herself. It's just one dinner. But deep down she knew. This was only the beginning. The flight to Abuja was short, but it felt like crossing into another world. Rachel had never flown first class before. Never been picked up by a driver holding a sign with her name on it. Never stayed in a hotel suite with a view of the city skyline. Honorable Joshua had sent everything: flight ticket, hotel booking, a shopping allowance of 300,000 Nigerian nairas for appropriate attire. When Rachel arrived at the boutique he'd recommended, the saleswomen treated her like royalty. She left with 3 dresses, 2 pairs of heels, and a handbag that cost more than her monthly rent. That evening, she stood in front of the mirror in her hotel room, dressed in a black silk gown that hugged every curve Simon's money had bought her. She looked perfect. She looked expensive. She looked like someone else entirely. The dinner was held in a private estate on the outskirts of Abuja. High walls, armed guards, luxury cars parked in rows like soldiers. Honorable Joshua was waiting for her at the entrance, a man in his early 50s, well-dressed, well-spoken, and carrying the kind of confidence that came from years of unchecked power. "Rachel," he said, taking her hand and kissing it, "you're even more stunning than Simon described." She forced a smile. "Thank you, Honorable." "Please," he said, leading her inside, "call me Joshua." The dinner was intimate. Only 6 people, all of them influential, all of them watching her. Rachel played her part perfectly. She laughed at jokes she didn't find funny, sipped wine she didn't want, smiled until her cheeks ached. And when Joshua's hand rested on her thigh under the table, she didn't move it. After dinner, he walked her to her car. "You're special, Rachel," he said. "I'd like to see you again." "I'd like that too," she lied. He handed her an envelope, a small token of appreciation. Inside was 500,000 Nigerian nairas in cash. Rachel's heart pounded. "Joshua, I can't." "Yes, you can," he said firmly. "And you will. Because this is just the beginning of a very beneficial relationship." She nodded numbly. On the flight back to Lagos, Rachel opened her banking app and stared at the balance. Between the shopping money and the cash, she'd made more in 2 days than she had in 2 months. But as the plane descended into Lagos, she felt something else. A sinking feeling. Like she just sold something she could never get back. The messages from Joshua started immediately. Good morning texts. Evening check-ins. Requests to video call, just to see her face. At first, Rachel managed to keep things light. But Joshua's attention grew heavier, more demanding. He wanted her to visit Abuja again. Wanted her to accompany him to events. Wanted her to be available when he called. And every time she complied, there was money. 500,000 Nigerian nairas here. 700,000 Nigerian nairas there. Rachel told herself it was just business. That she was building her brand. That powerful men helped ambitious women all the time. But Miriam saw through it. "Rachel, what are you doing?" Miriam asked one afternoon in the salon. "What do you mean? You're different. You're always traveling. Always on your phone. Always." Miriam hesitated. "Always with some new man." "I'm networking," Rachel snapped. "That's not networking. That's—" "Say it," Rachel challenged. "Say what you really think." Miriam's eyes filled with tears. "I think you're losing yourself." Rachel turned away. "I'm fine, Miriam. I'm better than fine. I'm finally living." But that night, alone in her room, Rachel cried for the first time since the surgery. Because Miriam was right. She was losing herself. And the worst part? She didn't know how to stop. It was Esther who found the messages. Rachel had left her phone on the kitchen counter while she showered. Esther, worried about her sister's increasingly erratic behavior, picked it up. The screen was unlocked. And there, in plain sight, were messages from Joshua. Can't wait to see you this weekend, baby. Wear that red dress I like. You know how to make me happy. When Rachel came out of the bathroom, Esther was sitting on the bed, phone in hand, face pale. Esther, what are you? Who is Joshua? Esther's voice was quiet. Too quiet. Rachel's stomach dropped. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Esther stood, hands shaking. Because it looks like you're sleeping with a married man for money. I'm not. Don't lie to me. Esther's voice cracked. Rachel, what happened to you? You used to be different. You used to have principles. Principles don't pay bills. Rachel shouted back. Principles don't put food on the table or send Timothy to school or keep Mama from crying herself to sleep every night. I'm doing what I have to do. No, Esther said, tears streaming down her face. You're doing what you want to do. And it's destroying you. Rachel wanted to argue, wanted to defend herself. But she couldn't, because Esther was right. That night, Rachel made a decision. She would do one last trip with Joshua. One final payment. And then she would walk away. Clear her conscience. Start fresh. But fate, as it turned out, had other plans. The trip to Dubai was supposed to be simple. Joshua had framed it as a business conference. 4 days, 5-star hotel, generous compensation. Rachel agreed, telling herself it was the last time. The last compromise. The last sacrifice. But from the moment she landed, something felt wrong. The driver who picked her up wasn't Joshua's usual man. The hotel wasn't the one Joshua had mentioned. And when she tried to call him, his phone went straight to voicemail. Instead, 2 men she'd never met came to her hotel room that evening. Joshua sent us, one of them said in a thick accent. There's been a change of plans. What kind of change? Rachel's voice wavered. You'll meet some of Joshua's business partners tonight. Just dinner. Nothing serious. But Rachel had learned enough by now to know what just dinner really meant. I want to speak to Joshua first, she insisted. The men exchanged glances. That's not possible, the second man said, his tone hardening. Get dressed. We leave in an hour. Rachel's hands trembled as she locked herself in the bathroom. She tried calling Miriam, her mother, but her phone had no signal. When she came out, the men were still waiting. Let's go, one of them said. Rachel had no choice. They took her to a villa on the outskirts of the city, walls so high she couldn't see over them, guards at every entrance. Inside, a group of men sat around a table, speaking in Arabic and broken English. Rachel was introduced as Joshua's friend. The men looked at her the way wolves looked at prey. She survived that night by staying silent, smiling when expected, and praying for morning. But the next day, Joshua finally called. Rachel, I'm sorry about the confusion. Get me out of here, she whispered, her voice breaking. Please, Joshua. Whatever this is, I don't want any part of it. There was a long pause. It's not that simple, Joshua said slowly. What do you mean? The men you're with, they're important people, Rachel. Very important. And they expect certain courtesies. Courtesies? Rachel's voice rose. Joshua, what did you do? Just cooperate, he said coldly. And you'll be home in a few days. Fight and, well, I can't protect you. The line went dead. Rachel realized in that moment what she truly was. Not a brand. Not an influencer. Not even a mistress. She was a commodity. And she'd been sold. 3 days passed like a nightmare. Rachel was moved between locations. Different villas. Different men. Always watched. Always controlled. On the 4th night, she managed to steal a phone from one of the guards while he slept. She dialed Esther's number with shaking hands. Hello. Esther's voice was thick with sleep. Esther. Rachel's voice broke. It's me. Rachel? Esther sat up. Where are you? Mama's been worried sick. I'm in Dubai, Rachel whispered. Esther, I need help. I need. The door burst open. One of the men stood there, rage twisting his features. Rachel, no, he shouted. The phone was ripped from her hands. Rachel? Rachel? Esther's voice screamed from the speaker before the line went dead. What happened next was a blur of shouting, accusations, and cold, brutal efficiency. Rachel was dragged into a car. And she was never seen alive again. Back in Lagos, the phone call from the Nigerian embassy came on a Tuesday morning. Deborah answered. Mrs. Deborah? This is the Nigerian embassy in Dubai. We're calling regarding your daughter, Rachel. The words that followed shattered her world. Body found. Circumstances under investigation. Arrangements to return her remains. Deborah's scream was heard 3 houses away. Esther collapsed in the hallway. Timothy, only 14, didn't understand why everyone was crying. The coffin arrived 2 weeks later. The funeral was small, quiet, painful. Miriam stood at the graveside, staring at the polished wood box that held her best friend. She thought about all the times she'd warned Rachel. All the times Rachel had laughed it off. I'm fine, Miriam. I know what I'm doing. But she hadn't known. None of them had. As the coffin was lowered into the ground, Esther stepped forward and placed a single white rose on top. You were supposed to come home, she whispered. But Rachel was already home. And she would never leave again. In the weeks following Rachel's death, her Instagram account became a memorial page. Strangers posted tributes. Influencers shared her photos with captions about "gone too soon" and "rest in power." But some comments were crueler. She chose that life. What did she expect? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Esther wanted to delete the account, to erase every trace of the life that had killed her sister. But Miriam stopped her. No, Miriam said firmly. Leave it. Let people see what happens when you chase perfection at any cost. The salon, Glam Beauty Salon, was closed permanently. The landlord cleared out the space within a month. The ring light Rachel had bought was found in the corner, still plugged in, still waiting for someone to turn it on. Brother Simon was never questioned. Honorable Joshua was never charged. In Lagos, powerful men rarely face consequences. Deborah never recovered. She aged 10 years in 10 weeks, her faith shaken, her heart broken. Timothy grew quieter, angrier. Esther carried the weight of knowing she'd been right all along. But being right didn't bring her sister back. 6 months after Rachel's death, a message arrived in Miriam's DMs. It was from a woman named Grace, a stranger who claimed to have been in Dubai at the same time as Rachel. I'm so sorry about your friend. I need to tell you what really happened. They spoke on the phone that night. Grace explained that Rachel had been trafficked, that Joshua had sold her to a network of men who used women for entertainment and disposal. She tried to run, Grace said, her voice trembling. They caught her, and they made an example of her. Why are you telling me this? Miriam asked. Because it almost happened to me too, Grace said. And if I don't speak up, it'll happen to someone else. Miriam recorded the conversation. She sent it to a journalist. The story broke 2 months later. Nigerian woman trafficked and killed in Dubai. How one BBL led to a death trap. The article went viral. It exposed Joshua, Simon, the network. Joshua was arrested, though his political connections ensured he never saw trial. Simon disappeared. But Rachel? Rachel was still gone. And no amount of justice would bring her back. So let me ask you again. What would you give to be perfect? Rachel gave everything. Her dignity, her safety, her family's peace, and finally her life. She thought beauty would open doors. And it did. But the doors it opened led to places she could never escape from. This story is not just about Rachel. It's about every young woman scrolling through Instagram right now, comparing herself to filtered images. It's about every person who believes that external perfection will solve internal emptiness. It's about the lie we've been sold, that if we just look good enough, everything else will fall into place. But here's the truth. Beauty fades. Fame is fleeting. And the people who promise you the world? They're often the ones who will take everything from you. Rachel's story didn't have to end this way. But it did. And unless we learn from it, someone else's story will end the same way tomorrow. So before you make that deal, before you take that loan, before you trust that stranger who promises you everything, ask yourself, what am I really willing to sacrifice? Because some prices are too high to pay. And some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. Rest in peace, Rachel. You deserved better. If you or someone you know is struggling with body image, pressure to change, or is being manipulated by someone offering help, please reach out. There are people who care. There are safe ways forward. This story is dedicated to every young woman in Nigeria and beyond who has ever felt like they weren't enough. You are enough. Exactly as you are. Like, subscribe, and share this video to spread awareness. Comment below with your thoughts. But please be kind. This is a real issue affecting real people. Until next time, stay safe, stay wise. And remember, your life is worth more than likes, followers, or any curve money can buy. God bless.